Hey guys, welcome back. It's Neon. This is Clownfish TV, and we're going to talk about Netflix. Yeah, Netflix hemorrhaging cash, hemorrhaging subscribers, not doing very well. They're canceling shows that some people liked, but not enough people liked, and they're getting blowback for that. It's just not been a good summer for Netflix, and it's probably going to get worse with Disney Plus on the horizon, with HBO Max on the horizon, with every freaking studio apparently launching their own streaming service. They're going to chip away at Netflix, who could potentially become the next Blockbuster Video. Oh, the irony of that. So before we get started, guys, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. It helps us tremendously. We're finding out that only 30% of our video views come from subscribers. Everybody else just kind of wanders in. If you're not subscribed, please do that. It helps us out tremendously. Thank you so much for those of you who have subscribed, and just for those of you who watch. We really appreciate it. So, yeah, Netflix cash burn likely to get worse. Much worse, according to Seeking Alpha. And some people are just concerned about whether or not the shows they're canceling were run by women. But right now, Netflix is hemorrhaging money, so I don't know if they're really looking at gender parity. Right now, I think they're looking at their bottom line. And if the show is not doing well in terms of viewership, it's getting the axe because Netflix has to cut costs. They have to cut costs. The streaming wars, according to Bloomberg, are going to get bloody. This is entirely true. We've got like 6 or 8 competitors now. I think we're only going to have 1 or 2 that will emerge as the leaders in the streaming wars. I mean, it's so bad that Bloomberg Business actually has it on the cover of their magazine with Netflix and Disney Plus and Amazon and Hulu and HBO Max and Apple. It's going to get messy. I keep forgetting about Apple. Like, Apple could be the dark horse in all of this. So it's going to get very messy, and everybody's talking about it. Right now, Netflix hemorrhaging subscribers is not a good look for them. So here's the bullet points from Seeking Alpha for Netflix. Liability growth continues to outpace operating income growth. That means they're spending a lot more money on shows than they're making. Cash flow remains just as negative as it has been for years. Netflix, again, spends more money than it makes, hoping eventually for a payday. But, you know, they're losing subscribers, they're losing value, and they're going to probably lose a lot more subscribers to competitors. So, you know, I really think Netflix is going to be forced to run ads. They're going to have to run ads even on subscribers' screens, right? Subscribers are basically going to pay just like you do for cable, and you're going to get bombarded with ads regardless. If you pay a little more, like on Hulu, you don't get as many ads, but you still get ads. That's how they pay for things. So let's get into this. The buzz surrounding Netflix since the on-demand video powerhouse posted its second quarter numbers has been about one thing and one thing only. That's the surprising weakness in subscriber growth. Not only did the 2.7 million total customers added during the quarter in question fall short of the 5 million investors were looking for, the company lost subscribers in the United States. With the exception of the Quickster price hike debacle of 2011, that's a first. Some fear it's the shape of things to come, first in the US and then overseas, as competition continues to chip away. They may be right to be concerned. The sheer noise made by the subscriber loss debate has obscured something far more important, though, and potentially related. That is, Netflix not only continues to bleed money and pile liabilities onto its balance sheet, it's still bleeding at an ever-increasing pace. They're putting Band-Aids on a mortal stab wound. Netflix is bleeding out, and that is going to continue to happen as competitors enter the space, right? It's going to. Once Disney comes in and, you know, HBO Max comes in and they start pulling the content off of Netflix, like Friends and The Office, it's going to get worse. Namely, last quarter's operational cash burn and non-GAAP free cash flow continued to swell on a year-over-year basis. If Netflix is losing US subscribers now and struggling to attract them overseas in the absence of direct, meaningful competition, how is it going to survive when it has to ramp up marketing and content spending, when it has to compete directly with similar services from Disney and AT&T? Uh-oh. CEO Reed Hastings attributed the United States subscriber losses to the content mix, suggesting it simply wasn't what consumers were interested in for the 3-month stretch. The argument is something of a stretch, though. Yeah, people aren't interested in content like Tuca and Bertie. They don't want Tuca and Bertie, and they lost their Marvel shows. They're losing the Marvel shows because, you know, Disney. So yeah, I can't believe that Tuca and Bertie is not enough to bring people to Netflix. To quell an acceleration of subscriber losses before it reaches a pace that's difficult to stop. So that means that this snowball is going downhill pretty quick. Netflix effectively has two options. One is lowering its subscription price. I don't see them doing that. It's incredibly unrealistic. The other is a significant ramp up in content curation and marketing. Both will cost a lot of money, and there's still no assurance such an effort would be effective. Yeah, so Netflix is sort of in a bind right now because they depended heavily. Now they are producing their own shows, but it's really a mixed bag. Some of those shows just aren't very good. Some of those shows just aren't very popular. They've had a couple breakout hits like Orange is the New Black and Stranger Things, but not everything has been a hit. Again, back to Tuca and Bertie, an expensive show to produce that clearly did not have as much of an audience as Netflix hoped for, and it got canceled after one season. But animated series are very expensive to produce. So the Daily Beast is talking about how all of the shows being canceled are done by women, trying to turn it into a gender thing. And I think it really comes down to numbers. I think for Netflix, you know, again, they don't make their numbers public. They don't talk about, you know, what constitutes a hit. They probably look at a show, they look at the numbers it gets, and they're like, okay, is this show popular enough with our subscribers to warrant another season? Are we getting enough people watching it to warrant another season versus the cost of the show? Again, you know, animated series cost more to produce than most live action series. So they're going to look at that and be like, okay, is it worth spending another, you know, $500,000 an episode on Tuca and Bertie when we can take $500,000 and get like 6 episodes of something in live action that's kind of low rent? And that's kind of how they're going to look at it. It just so happens that some of those shows that were canceled were produced or directed by women. I don't think Netflix, being the way that they are politically, is intentionally targeting women and trying to stop women from making TV shows. I think it would be the opposite. I think they're probably trying to give as many women a chance as they can. And unfortunately, a lot of the shows that are being produced are not, you know, gaining a wide audience. In the case of Tuca and Bertie, again, we watch a lot of animation. I've never sat through an episode of it, but I've never heard of it either. I didn't even hear of this show until it was canceled. So there is some failure, I think, in Netflix's marketing machine, where they promote shows that they know are going to be a hit, like Stranger Things or Daredevil, but they don't promote a lot of these lesser known shows. They just sort of put them out there and hope that the word of mouth is enough. And with Stranger Things, we talked about that before, where, you know, its first season, it wasn't really promoted that much. It really wasn't. Not like it was for seasons 2 and 3 once they realized they had a hit on their hands, but it was very kind of low key, and a lot of people watched it, and it blew up. And I don't even think Netflix expected it to blow up, but they got lucky. They basically got lucky with their hits. I don't think Netflix really planned for any of their hits to be mega hits. They just kind of threw spaghetti at the wall, and you know, whatever stuck. And shows like Tuca and Bertie did not stick. We're really wondering if She-Ra is going to get a 4th season, because it is an expensive show to produce. Not a lot of people are talking about it anymore. When we talk about it, it's usually to poke fun at it. You know, and they have a toy line coming out, but it's pretty weak. It's pretty weak. So I don't know if She-Ra's, you know, hitting the market they're hoping. But again, She-Ra's bankrolled by DreamWorks. DreamWorks can ramp up the marketing machine. Tuca and Bertie does not have that luxury. But they're talking about in this article that Netflix has been pretty ruthless with the fan favorites, says Notre Dame American Studies professor Jason Ruiz. Several of these have been woman-run. The road to Netflix's media monopoly is paved with one-season wonders created by women. The first show, led by a Native American woman, was Chambers. To the break with Michelle Wolf, and the 13 shows Netflix canceled this year, nearly half of them were about women or created by women. So I don't think that is the case, that they are trying to run women out of streaming. It's just that it's you know, it's very hit or miss with Netflix. Like, here we go. Here they got to make it political, right? So Netflix, which declined to offer comment for the story, doesn't test whether shows will work with pilot episodes the way traditional networks do. The streaming monolith says it has an 80% renewal rate from one season to the next, although it was recently revealed that Netflix often cancels shows after season 3. That is true. Again, we have to wonder if She-Ra will get a 4th season, but it is bankrolled by DreamWorks, so it's possible. When it comes to renewals, Netflix says it tends to look at viewing versus cost. This is what we're saying. They look at viewers versus the cost. And right now, Netflix is hemorrhaging money. If a show is cheap enough, they'll keep it even if the audience numbers are low, although Netflix has not clarified how cheap a show would need to be kept. Tuca and Bertie animated series, a half an hour or 22 minute, whatever, animated show. You're talking 500,000 plus an episode. Okay. That's Tuca and Bertie was millions of dollars in production. And if it's not bringing the eyeballs, Netflix, hemorrhaging money, is going to have to cut it loose. But I love this on change.org because people don't understand how these things work. You know, if men made this, it would be getting renewed, a commenter wrote on a change.org petition of over 16,000 people who wanted to save Tuca and Bertie. If Netflix can renew Big Mouth for 3 more seasons and also start their own in-house animation studio, they can afford at least 1 more season of this fantastic show. But again, none of this makes any difference to the algorithm, the showrunner said, but it's important to me in the way I want to continue making art in this world. It doesn't. Netflix just looked at it and said, look, we're spending however many hundreds of thousands of dollars per episode on Tuca and Bertie, and we only got this many people watching it, and we're losing money. That's why we're canceling shows. It's really as simple as that. So we're talking about how bloody the streaming wars are going to get, and Disney is putting a ton of money into original content. HBO is going to be taking back Friends, and they're doing some original content, original animated content. They're going to spend big up front, but it comes at a cost. We've said before about HBO Max and how we think that, at least with Rooster Teeth and Crunchyroll, the reason they're jacking their rates up and they're jacking their support system up and they're shuffling people around is to position themselves to possibly at some point push everything over to HBO Max. Disney Plus, we did a video on their launch lineup. It's not very impressive, but we know they're spending money behind the scenes to push Disney Plus, to make that sort of the premier Netflix rival. Right now, I think their lineup is very, very weak. It's very weak. So anyone who wants to watch a dramatic, treacherous race in the months ahead should check out the escalating competition in the world of streaming video on demand TV. It promises to be the media industry's equivalent of the Badwater Ultra Marathon, the annual spectacle in which a steely group of endurance athletes gather in the arid lowlands of California and race uphill on foot for 135 miles. In the summertime, in Death Valley. By this time next year, AT&T's Warner Media division, Comcast, NBC Universal, Walt Disney, and Apple will all have released new streaming services that will take a chunk out of Netflix. Oh, they actually said that. Taking on the existing ones from Amazon, CBS, Hulu, and Netflix. It's unlikely that any of these media and tech giants will escape this looming showdown unscathed. Even the ultimate winners are expected to limp into the future, bloodied and battered. Next year is shaping up to be the Hunger Games for the streaming services, says a professor at New York University Stern School of Business. The media conglomerates are trying to win on Netflix's turf now because they don't have much choice. The success of Netflix's model, charging a monthly fee for a large amount of ad-free on-demand programming that streams to any internet-connected device, has inspired millions of people to cancel their pay TV service and get their home entertainment online. Except now we're going right back to where we started from, aren't we? Because now we're going to have a whole bunch of channels you're going to have to subscribe to. A lot of these will probably have ads on them. I know Amazon, Hulu have ads on them even if you pay for them. So, we're going right back to where we started from, except it's probably going to be more expensive because you're going to have to get all the shows you want, you're going to have to subscribe to like 4, 5, 6 of these shows. And there's also data mining going on here with Netflix and Amazon, and that's kind of scary, right? So for decades, Disney, NBC, Time Warner, and others enjoyed a lucrative, straightforward business model, and it's ending. It's disrupted. The streaming world, on the other hand, has proved largely inhospitable to commercial interruptions. Netflix and Amazon Prime Video don't have any yet. Amazon Prime actually does have some commercials in the beginning, I think, for other Amazon shows. Come to think of it, Hulu does have commercials, but you can get an ad-free version of it. But it's weird because the ad-free version is just less ads. It's still, you know, it's still got ads. So both have toughed it out to dominate the market without needing advertising income. Yeah, so the new entrants have to master the art of attracting and retaining loyal streaming subscribers to survive, and it won't be easy. So if there's any one company that can compete with Netflix, it's Disney. Yeah, but you know, I think their lineup's actually pretty weak, and Disney is betting the farm. They are betting the farm on the streaming service, and I think we're going to do a video here in the near future when I've got Geeky on talking about Disney's financial situation right now, that they're actually in debt. Disney, after they bought Fox, is putting on a brave face, but I think they're actually not going to be spending as much as people think they are. They do not have infinite money. People think Disney has infinite money. They don't. Nobody does. Nobody has infinite money. But Disney's pretty close. But even their coffers have limitations. So some companies like Viacom, which owns, you know, Comedy Central, MTV, Nickelodeon, they've decided to sit this one out. They're actually not creating an app. I think they're kind of waiting until the dust clears to see who to throw in with. They even said that, you know, here's what they said. They said, what we're not doing is developing a mass market subscription service like Netflix. And the reason for that is twofold. One is that business is looking more and more crowded. And the second, it's a very capital intensive game. Translation, have fun with your cannonball run. We'll be happy to make deals with whomever eventually survives. Yeah, there are some other groups that are just sitting this one out too. This could definitely hurt, you know, a lot of these companies. You know, Warner's not as strong as it used to be. They're cutting corners, cutting costs. And it might actually wind up being a three-way battle between Disney and Comcast Universal, because they got the whole thing going on with the theme parks too, and Netflix. But Netflix is clearly hemorrhaging money right now, hemorrhaging subscribers. So this is going to be really interesting to watch. But yeah, you know, as far as individual shows on Netflix being canceled, chalk it up to them losing money, you know, and don't expect more expensive shows. I don't think Netflix is going to churn out, even though they probably need to, don't expect for them to put out something that's the equivalent of like a Star Wars show on Disney Plus, because that costs a lot of money. And if it's not an established IP, they're probably not going to sink the bucks into it. Or if they do it, they're going to do kind of a budget cut version. You know, look at Lost in Space on Netflix. And for the most part, it just takes place on that one planet. They don't have them out there planet hopping, you know, which would require a lot of effects. In fact, the only real effects they have in the show are the robot, you know, it's the robot. So, you know, expect them to be a little more shrewd with their dollars. Do not expect them to take chances on things like Tuca and Bertie as they gear up to fight Disney, mostly. So we're going to keep an eye on Netflix here on Clownfish TV. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. We'll talk to you guys later. Hey guys, thanks for watching Clownfish TV. Please consider supporting the channel. Go to clownfishsupport.com. That's clownfishsupport.com. And if you want to join our community, go to clownfishtalk.com. That's clownfishtalk.com. Please subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. We will talk to you next time.